One of my favorite features of Scalar 3 is the auto voice leading. I think it's a little bit hidden and maybe a little misunderstood, and I want to describe it very quickly in this video. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of how I use it, but what is voice leading? Let's go right to the basics. C major scale selected right here. Here's the notes of C major. Nothing you don't already know. The chords are C major. Yeah, fairly straightforward. So let's say I'm going to pull in an A minor, F, C, and G. Yeah, we would call this a 6, 4, 1, 5. Fairly straightforward. Now, playing those straight from a diatonic scale, chords of the scale, means that you get these jumps, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if I select them all just to show you what I'm doing, you can see that that's naturally the position of the chords in the C major scale. You know that we've had something called dynamic voice grouping and voice grouping in Scalar for a long time, Scalar 2 and Scalar 3. And that's really nice because actually it groups the chords, adds a nice big bass note, and that kind of thickens things up. But sometimes you don't want that. So, for example, if I wanted to put on, let's go to articulations and arpeggio, and let's use a down-up. Having the fourth note kind of makes that up sound a little jumpy. That's cool if that's what you want. But in this instance, it's not what I want. So I'm going to turn off the dynamic voicing, and instead I'm going to click the voice leading button. Now, the first thing that does is it follows the rule of thumb, which is if you can, don't move a chord, or a note of the chord, I should say. If you can, follow parallel motion, which it's doing now. If not, move something by a semitone, move something by a tone, but avoid fifths, avoid octaves. And that's exactly what's happening here. So it's kind of imparting all these rules as used by the great composers of voice leading, and what really is an integral part of making chord progressions interesting. Now with that arpeggiator, 3 notes, and those chords voice led, you'll hear it sounds much more interesting. In this instance, Scalar wasn't afraid to use the inversions that mean it's going to change the bass note. And that's fine because here for the F major, I'm actually using the first inversion, which means the A goes down and it's an F major played over A. The C major over G, similar thing, but this time we're using the second inversion, the G goes under. So it's a great way of just getting in, finding some chords, and just making the motion smooth. And of course that works without the up. And really, you can use it. It's voice leading becomes really important if we were going to use an orchestra. Yeah, so here I've pulled up a cello quartet, and you can see with the voices led evenly, all the players can play without requiring different players to do these big jumps, which is not really possible. And it sounds very, very smooth. Cool. Let me show you another example of using voice leading and voice grouping within Scalar 3. Okay, so here's another way I like to use voice leading, and often in Scalar 2, Scalar 3, I like to come to the circle of fifths just to kind of noodle around and, find chords that I like. I'm going to pull up the grand piano here, and I'm going to go for E flat options, or D sharp. It's fine, D sharp major. And I might come in and grab a sharp minor or B flat minor. I'll just repeat that chord. Don't want to go too fast, so let's go F minor. So I'm kind of sticking around that one area on the circle of fifths, which is what I've been told to do, and it works really nicely. Problem is, if I come in and select all the chords and come in and look at the MIDI editor, you can see that the chords are just jumping around. Bear in mind, I have no scale selected here in Scalar 3. So it's just a bunch of chords I've dragged in. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit auto voice leading. And auto voice leading nicely just puts all those notes as close together as it can, as utilized by some of the great composers over time. Keep a note the same where possible, move a note by a semitone or a tone, don't move by fifths, don't add octaves. Now, if I was to turn on, let's pull up a little up, I think you can see how this particular chord progression was made quite famous. If I pull up and up, and I'm going to make it play 1/8, and I'm going to just cycle around in my door, hit play. Yeah, that'll be really obvious if I put that an octave up. Yeah, so that worked really nicely. You can see that actually if I come into the main page now, I've chosen my chords, and often I'll do this. I'll go detect and say, what key or scale is that in? Well, it's saying, well, you could be in a B flat Dorian, you could be in a Ritsu scale. F minor sounds likely to me. I'm finishing there on the F minor. And when I've selected that, you can see it's actually now telling me the bass positions of the chords because of the inversion. So what we've actually got is we've got an E flat major, and then we have a B flat minor over a D flat and an F minor over a C. That is, in order to voice lead, it needed to use a first inversion and a third inversion to bring those bass notes down. And that's what makes this particular chord progression really nice, is it's much more interesting than it would have been had we not voice led. Let me show you an example. So here we go. That's how we have it at the moment. And actually, if I had come here, gotten rid of those chords, and just in the standard position gone, yep, let's go E flat minor, let's go B minor, and F minor. That's just how the chords appear diatonically in the F minor scale. Not quite that interesting because, as you can see, we're actually jumping around quite a lot. Turn on the voice leading and we're in a much better position in terms of less leaps from those chord progressions. But what about if you're just pulling in chords from anywhere with scant regard to the amount of voices within those chords? Meaning I have one chord with 3 notes, another chord with 4 notes, another chord with 5 notes. Let me just be totally random here. Brand new scalar, got the felt piano, going to go... Well, let's actually pull up a different sound. So here I go. I'm going to go genres, 80s, 80s one. Sounds nice. Let's go, well, let's pull up this G flat major scale. So let's use a B minor. You can see here, lots of notes, 3 notes. I'm not sure. Let's go common progressions. Let's go F. Quite a few notes there, and let me go back to genres and go ambient. Or actually, let's go to the explore page just to be completely random, shall we? Cool. Okay. Now, if we come over to the arrange page and we go to the MIDI editor and we pull that up and we have a look, we can see those chords are all over the shop. Now, voice leading's not going to be ideal here because voice leading doesn't say I'm going to add notes and take notes away. It's just going to try and voice lead the chords that you have inclusive of the notes that you have. So it's not going, if you've got a 3 note and a 4 note, it's not going to add a 4th note to the 3 note chord. You can see here, if I click voice leading, it's going to do its best, but it's missing notes. It's still now in the right position, but it hasn't added or changed the amount of notes. This is where Scalar 3 is really unique and super powerful. I'm actually now going to go to the voicing and I'm going to turn on dynamic voicing. And that's really cool because that's actually said, I'm just going to put the same amount of notes per chord. But you can see that it is even now more over the shop. This is where the combination of the two is awesome. As soon as I click voice leading, bang. I'm just going to change the instrument here, make it really obvious. Here we go. 4 chords, 4 notes, all voiced perfectly. And that's from me. Yes, I was randomly pulling in chords, but sometimes I do that with Scalar. I might go for a chord progression. I might look for a substitution. There are so many different ways to come up with unique chords, but having the combination of the dynamic voicing and the auto voice leading is really cool. It doesn't stop there, because now I can say, oh yeah, that sounds kind of right, but I want to change the inversions or the semitones. So you can pitch up and down as I did there, but this time I want to actually change the inversions. And you can see that the actual chords stick within their voicing, but actually invert. That's really cool. The combination of voice grouping and voice leading in Scalar 3 is utterly unique, and it's a really great way of not limiting where you pull chords from, be it the Explore page, be it the Colors page, be it the Browser page, and you can continue to pull chords from different elements or different categories, bring them in here, select them all, turn on voice grouping, turn on voice leading. For me, that's what makes music creation special, and that's how you get those really special, beautifully voiced harmonic chord progressions. Thanks for watching.